Last, certainly not least, offensive coordinator Dave Patenaude, and we'll go ahead and open it right up for questions for Coach Patenaude. Once again, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function within Zoom. We'll call on people individually, beginning with Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.
Hey, Dave. Obviously, Jeff had, a rough outing against Syracuse, and you end up turning to Jordan late in the game. And kind of what has been your approach with him in this bye week and trying to get, the turnover piece under control from a freshman quarterback?
I mean, that's the the thing when you're playing with a young guy. You're going to have to go through some of these rough patches, and just an overall commitment to protecting the ball. And statistically, when you don't turn the ball over, you're going to have a much higher opportunity to win games. So we've done a good job of moving the ball, and we've been very difficult to defend. And the team that's defended us the best has been us. We can't turn the ball over, and he's got to be a little bit more patient. He's got to be able to check the ball down a little bit. A couple of those issues that he had against Syracuse weren't his fault. I mean, there were some protection issues, and he got hit when he was throwing it and that type of thing. So I wasn't as concerned about the ones where he's getting hit. I've been doing this a long time. I've never seen so many balls go straight up in the air into a defensive lineman's hands. That's kind of an anomaly a little bit. So, I was more disappointed with the read at the end of the game where he just missed a read and threw it to their safety who dropped down in coverage, and he just missed a coverage check. But the fact of the matter is, when you have those young guys, I mean, they haven't seen all of these things. It's going to be a matter of trying to duplicate as many things as you can in practice, give them as many looks as you can, give them as many reps as you possibly can, get them comfortable. And, we're just going to have to be patient along the way, that there's going to be a time where he's going to see something for the first time that he's never seen before, and he's going to have to figure it out and just stay with your base rules. So that's been really the last week and a half of just, refamiliarizing him with what these guys are going to do defensively, and keep putting them back out there and letting them sling it around.
Okay, next question comes from Rod McKenzie from 247 Sports.
Hey, Dave, I wonder if you could help a little bit with some of the terminology that Louisville likes to use. I think their coordinator mentioned that they like to slant an angle rather than use the two gap. From a offensive coordinator's perspective, what do you see from that?
Yeah, so they're a base 30 team. They're going to play with a true nose guard and two guys covering up the tackles. So you're going to see three down linemen covering up our center and our two tackles, and two inside linebackers over our guards. And as in basically any base 30 front, they're going to move. So if they're slanting an angle, and that means that they're moving the front, that they're not locking the guys down on people and trying to two gap, meaning they're going to try to bench press the guy in front of them, read the run, and then read the insert of the running back, and then try to fall off inside or outside. They're a much more movement-based team where they're going to slide the front, and those defensive ends now become three techniques if they step inside, or they could drop. They're going to bring the outside linebacker off the edge to the field to make a four-down defense. They'll bring the outside linebacker off the boundary to make a four-down defense. And basically all they're doing is taking that guy who's set up on the tackle and stepping him down onto the guard to make a three technique and four down looks. So their whole plan is to be able to move those interior six guys with the two inside linebackers blitzing, the ends coming, the ends dropping, the nose basically rocking back and forth into the A gaps, which is a little bit different than some of the 30 defenses who just try to bench press guys back and read what the play is. So they are a true 30 look. They're very, very well coached at what they do. Very rarely are they out of gaps. They're not a huge chaos creating, bringing four different guys off of this side or that side like Syracuse posed that problem. They are much more disciplined in their drop, where they're moving to, the drop end, dropping into the flat, that type of thing. So they are a traditional Okie three-down defense.
Next question comes from Ken Segura from the AJC.
Hey, I was wondering, Dave, just with having the Dylans back, if when that happens, what does that mean just for you in terms of flexibility and kind of opening more things up, I guess, for you?
Well, I mean, in this day of COVID, right? I mean, you have to have depth. That's the biggest thing, and it allows you now to play really four guys. Four different tight ends. Billy Ward went in there and played well as a young buck, and Jack Coco we've talked about. He did a tremendous job when those guys were out, and you have the ability to have a little bit more flexibility with guys, and they don't have to play as many plays. I mean, we went into the Syracuse game. I think Jack played 50-something plays. That wasn't his initial role, but he played at a very high level. I mean, he graded in the 90s. So for a guy to step up and do what he was doing was awesome. But I mean, it's the craziest thing, guys. I mean, we're playing Syracuse. There's a COVID delay, right? Because guys are, the test didn't come through, or you never know. You never know. Saturday morning something might happen, and so the more guys you have, and the more of the guys that you can mix and match between the running backs, the receivers, and the tight ends, gives you more flexibility, and you don't have to panic and scratch off your game plan Saturday morning to say, hey, these guys are out. We're going to plug these guys in. And, where we are in our development and our understanding has also allowed us to cross-train a lot more guys where you could create a lot more depth. So certainly depth is going to be the issue across college football from any Saturday. And then you take the injury factor, and so it just gives you a lot more flexibility to put different packages on the field and feel good about the development of the guys that are in there.
Next question comes from Charles Odom from the Associated Press.
Getting back to your comments about cutting down on the turnovers, you're not the only ACC offensive coordinator working on that this week. I count 6 teams that have thrown as many or more interceptions than TD passes thus far, and that's a change from last season, obviously. Do you see this as a product of teams trying to work with quarterbacks who can do more than throw the ball, or do you see this as a pandemic effect where this is the product of spring practice being eliminated or shortened?
I would say that it's both. I think that the real timing and the understanding of what you're doing in the spring is big, especially for young guys, and especially for us playing a young Q. So that timing piece is big. I think the thing that a lot of people miss out on is that these guys didn't have a summer together. So a lot of guys, you're throwing routes on air with the receivers, the timing all summer. So that by the time you get through spring and you get through your summer workouts, the guys will come in, they'll run, they'll lift, they'll do their thing. A lot of our guys would be going to classes. They weren't in classes this summer. They were doing more stuff online, and then they'd come back and, they'd get together and they'd throw, or they'd throw right after the lift. So, the timing and the understanding of where guys are going to be and just the overall repetition of that, I think, is missing. And for us especially, when you're playing a young guy, those reps and those skelly reps and the one-on-one reps in the summer, are kind of where you cut your teeth and you get a good feel for where a guy's going to be on a go ball or that type of thing. It's been interesting for us because I went back and looked at it, obviously, being reflective in the off week. And, like I said earlier, a few of those things you're like, this is just the football gods, you know what I mean? You're getting hit, the ball bounces up in the air and you just kind of shake your head. And then other of them are, hey, you need to make this read on this guy. So, maybe teams are asking guys to do too much. Maybe the defenses have caught up a little bit. I don't know. But I do know for us that when we are efficient throwing the ball, we know we can run it pretty well. And being able to be in a good mix and take the pressure off the cue has been, something that we really talked about. So Jeff knows he's got to protect the ball better, and you can't be cavalier with the ball. He's a great athlete. So I said, listen, man, if the guy's covered, don't jam it in there. Just take off and run. You've been making a ton of plays just taking off and being an athlete and running, and set your feet. Throw the ball. I think the one thing that you guys can really look close at is, are those quarterbacks playing with their feet set, or are their feet all over the place? That to me is the sign of really good quarterbacking, is when your feet are set, you know where you want to go with the ball, and the ball comes out on time. A lot of those, poor throws and poor decisions are based on, guys moving around in the pocket, getting a little bit antsy, and then trying to deliver the ball late. Under duress. You never want to do that, so if you can't get to your second read, tuck the ball, get what you can, and go to the next play.
Okay, we have time for a couple more for Coach Patenaude. We'll start with one from Patrick Canaro from Ramblin' Sports.
Coach Patenaude, your running game has really been productive so far this year, and I just wanted to ask your commentary on the pass catching ability of your running backs. That's also been a special feature.
Yeah, that makes it a lot more difficult to defend, right? Because now you can get those guys out of the backfield, and usually you can isolate those guys on linebackers, get good one-on-ones against linebackers. And if those guys are a threat out of the backfield, now you have to play it a little bit differently. You can't just overload the box because, do you want your will linebacker running with a running back, especially guys that can catch it like our guys can. So that just adds another layer to the things that you can do. And, we're always going to try to build things off of the run game. That's going to be the number one thing. We have to be able to establish line of scrimmage. We have to be able to run the ball downhill. We're very multiple on how we're doing it. We're running a bunch of different schemes, even against Syracuse. We hadn't run power the whole year. We probably ran 25 snaps of power against Syracuse, which just adds another thing that you have to defend, and then the play actions off of it. And then the screen game and being able to get the ball out to the backs. So, we're really blessed with the guys being multiple. And again, I keep coming back to just the overall understanding of what we're doing. Like last year, we couldn't do that because guys didn't know enough about just the base things that we do in the offense. Now you can motion those guys in and out of the backfield or get them, isolated on linebackers, which are good matchups. So they bring a lot of versatility to what we're doing.
Okay, we have time for one more. We'll take the last one from Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.
Hey, Dave. Jameer's been pretty incredible with what he's been able to do as a freshman, and just his versatility. You talked about that just a second ago in terms of having versatility offense. Can you just talk about what you've seen from him and kind of the fun of having a toy like that in your chest as offensive coordinator that can do so many different things for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that we're missing J.P. Mason is a huge piece of that too, right? So, the guys that have been in there have been outstanding. And, the thing that makes Jameer a little bit different is he does have great quickness. He's got tremendous hands. But when you watch him finish runs for a guy who's not a guy who's, 225 pounds, he finishes runs downhill. There's a couple of those, where he broke one to the outside, he bounced it outside. The play was designed to go inside. We had a short yardage one against Syracuse where it was bottled up inside. He bounced it to the edge of the defense. Now, he can outrun dudes on the edge, but the thing about him is, he's physical, and he finishes the ball squared and going downhill. So that makes it a little bit different too when you have to come up and tackle these guys, is that they're shifty. And they have good speed, but they'll put their pads down on you and finish runs. So that's something that Tashard does a tremendous job with. If a guy doesn't finish, going downhill and with his pads square to our goal line, they catch an earful in practice. And, the three guys that have been in there have been, great at finishing runs. And the thing that I think has been super is Dante Smith's emergence and his change of pace, and his ability to break tackles. And it was funny. We ran a play, and Tashard was subbing a guy out, and I didn't want to sub there because we were trying to play fast. And he's like, I got to get Dante in. So we kind of slowed down, and then he cracked like a 30-yard run. He dove over the top of a guy, and I was like, Tashard, that was an excellent sub. Thank you for thank you for getting him in the game, you know. So that was great coaching on your part. You know, I was up in the box complaining about, no, we can't slow down, we can't slow down. So we're really blessed, man. You know, I said early on in the season that those guys give you a lot of depth. They give you a lot of versatility. They're all a little bit different, but they can all run and catch. You could get guys isolated on linebackers pretty well. So, you know, Jameer does a lot of like real stuff that you're like, holy cow, that was amazing. But you know, the development of that room in general has been tremendous. So, yes, it does give you, you know, a lot of opportunities to mix and match and put guys in different places and see, you know, if you could play the matchup game a little bit more than we could last year.
Okay, thank you, Coach Patenaude.
Thanks, guys.